in the falls of South Vietnam. Yet, human rights violations and the suppression of freedom have only worsened. Despite the face of injustice, many courageous individuals throughout the years have risen to take action. Through their timeless effort, speaking out, organizing, and advocating, they continue to keep alive the flame of the hope for free, democratic Vietnam. Who are they? And what have they done? Please join me in listening to the presentation of our 3 freedom fighters who are here with us today. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Philip Bui. Mr. Bui is a college instructor, freelance journalist, and human rights advocate who spent his early years in Vietnam and escaped Vietnam by boat. He has been a big community activist, human rights advocate for the past 50 years. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Philip Bui.
I want to introduce one more panelist, that is our advisor, Dr. Viet. Would you please come over here? He's my advisor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Philip Phu Bui, or in Vietnamese, it's Nguyen Phu. And I left Vietnam in the afternoon of April 29, 1975, with my cousins, family. I left behind my parents and brother and sister. My cousins left behind their parents. So here I was in the refugee camp. The left photo, that's in Subic Bay, and then the right photo in Camp Commentator. So we spent about 3 months before we was resettled in Berkeley. We didn't get any news from the family for maybe 10 months. Early in 1976, and we get the first letter from home. And in the letter, what the sad news will be about people being sent to the re-education camp. My father was a low-ranking officer in the Republic of Vietnam Army, so he attended the re-education session in the local school for 3 days, and he was released. It is his certificate. I got it from him when he came to USA in 1992. But many others, like my uncle, my cousin's father, was sent to the education camp and don't know when they will be back. That's the thing. So we are so worried, so anxious about what happened to him. He was moved from camp to camp. And of course, there's many other detainees in the education camp. They never know when they will be released. So my uncle spent 5 years. He was a lieutenant in the National Police Force. And after 2 years in USA, in 1977, I was admitted to the University of California in Berkeley, a well-known school for anti-war. When I was there, I met Miss Laola, the one on the right. She was a graduate student in Asian Studies, and she wanted to know more about Vietnam after 75. So I met her there, and then I began to work with her because she said she worked for the Amnesty International, an organization in Vietnam I heard about already because they support for the people like student leader Huỳnh Tấn Mẫn, Cao Thị Quế Hương, they were arrested by the South Vietnam government and put in jail, and they appealed for their release. So I met him and also Dr. why just came to, he was arrested and then was released and was able to go to France, and then he came to USA to give a talk about human rights in Vietnam. He came to Berkeley. So these are the photos I took, and mostly because I do the translation for Daola or whoever working with the AI. And Dr. Thien later wrote a book, The Vietnamese Gulag, details about his imprisonment and then the prison in Vietnam. And in 1979, if you remember, John Baez, well known for anti-war activist, and she came to UC Berkeley many times before, and then she came again. This time, she talked about human rights in Vietnam. And the open letter they are published on May 30th, 1979, in the 5 major newspapers in USA, Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, LA Times, and San Francisco Chronicle. That's a copy of it. And then there was the consortium or the conference about human rights in Vietnam. That's the banner right on the Trao Plaza, if you know the campus. That's the very well-known place. Okay. And here, that's John Baez and Laura Hironaka at the rally for the boat people that in November 1979. After she met with President Carter in the summer and asked him to have the boat to go, so President Carter signed the order to accept more boat people, increase from like a couple thousand to 14,000 per month. And here's the rally right there on the Trao Plaza. A lot of people get attention to Vietnam again, but this time more about the people being put into the education camp and so on. And here I see the VSA. I was one of the leaders in the VSA at Berkeley. I was one of the founders too. We founded in 1979. And see that the banner by the VSA at Berkeley. And there was the conference about human rights in Vietnam. John Baez on the left. Louis Biscay talking about human rights in South America. And Dr. Chen Xuân Ninh, one of the prisoner of conscience just being released from Vietnam. He escaped by boat. And to the right, that's Professor Carl Jackson, political science Carl Jackson. And later on, he did a research study on life in Vietnam after 75, especially about people being detained in the education camp. And then in 1980, it's like a bombshell in the Vietnamese community. First, Nguyen Thien, we don't heard about people in prison in the North Vietnam, but Nguyen Thien was the one, and he smuggled out, he ran into the British embassy. I met him, I interviewed him later on when he came to USA. He rushed into the British embassy and said, I have a collection of poems here, can you take it out? And B.B. Hornet took it out and published it, sent it to someone in America, and that's the first edition of his poem collection, The Echo from Yavis. And there's a Vietnamese student at Cal. We organized one night on the occasion of April 30th in 1981. We have a singing song, the prison song put into the music by Phạm Duy, and then we invited like 4 or 5 former detainees to talk about life in Vietnam, and life in the education camp. Yes, I'm not student singing. I still memorize some of the songs. Kia thì 60 rồi, sau không được phép rồi bán quay, things like that. Kia thì 72, và sau được mới rằng tha tự do những quý tiết tha mà sau từ một hết ra lại vàng. And then that's a songbook written by him. And then also that year, this is the first monograph. It's not a book, but written by Nguyen Long. Nguyen Long graduated from Berkeley in 1973. He got a PhD degree in political science. He came back to Vietnam and became a vice president of the Thien University. But he was a kind of left wing, supporting the National Liberation Front, but he left. And then he came and wrote a book with Harry Harry Candle was the coordinator for the Institute of East Asian Studies at Trao. So this is the first English book with the detail about how life in Vietnam looked like. No freedom, you must got the permit from everything. You cannot move around, tạm trú tạm vắng. You must have a paper, or you cannot move transport the food around. You must have a permit from the police. Yeah. Now, after that, then here is that's how life in Vietnam looked like, and I begin to get the information from Vietnam. The artist was arrested, Nhã Ca, her husband, Trần Dạ Từ, Duyên Anh, Hoàng Hải Thủy, Dương Nhiễm Mậu. These are the authors I like to read when I was in high school. Yeah, and they were put into the prison without no reason. I went down with Trao to Southern California. We get an interview with writer of Thien, director Educator, former Congresswoman Nguyễn Thị Hai, and then pharmacist Các Hàng Lisa, the advisor for the military government before, and then the artist. So they told us a lot of stories about people being detained in Vietnam. That's 1979. And then they focus on the church. So many priests, so many monks, Buddhist monks, and the people in Cao Dai of the Trao were detained. Especially some of the case here, Thi and Chi-Hue in 1984, because they don't want to join the Buddhist church. That's the government founded. Before there was an independent Buddhist church, unified Buddhist church, and then it was disbanded by the government, and the government tried to force these people to join the government-sponsored church. They refused. That's the only reason they got Thi and Chi-Hue death sentence. I was so surprised for all of us. I mean, other people got like a 10 years, 20 years in prison, but they condemned them with the death sentence. So we appealed everywhere from the UN, with the US government, and France, and Europe, and they commute the sentence to die in prison. Yeah. Father Nguyen and Father Trần Nhân Thanh were detained too, sent back, and 83, Father Nguyen, they disbanded the Đắk Lắk Center and arrested him, put him 12 years in prison, and some other, the Viet got a few years there, and he's with the protesters. And these are the people there, the Buddhist monk, the Catholic priest, and so on. Then it is different because the person from the north being prosecuted right now, Dương Thu Hường, she's really brave. She's a blooded critic of Hanoi. She used, we say, that's the street language or the market language to criticize the government. Yeah. But she was not sentenced, she was detained for about 9 months in Vietnam. But she wanted to stay in Vietnam. But too much of the pressure, too much of trouble, finally she decided to go to France. Yeah. In 1992, after the 89 revolution in Eastern Europe and some the Tiananmen Square incident, this is from Vu Thien Ngo, the chief police of Vietnam, warning the Politburo that there will be a peaceful evolution, diễn biến hòa bình. The enemies try to use all means, try to change the government or try to have a multi-party system or different society, not monopoly by the communist party. And here the trial later on by then, Nguyễn Đàn Quế, Professor of Viet, Professor Nguyễn Đàn Quế, Viet, and Đoàn Thanh Liêm. Here the newspaper clip from Saigon News, Saigon Giải Phóng, about the trial. Đoàn Thanh Liêm got 12 years in prison, and then Nguyễn Trì, one of his assistants, got 8 years. And Viet was brought to court in Saigon. Right there, that's the right photo. And here, that's the people being arrested, trial in the early 90s. This photo we got years there. And then Lee Cheng-chen, he was the former congressman. Politically, is a poet, a Viet professor. Vickham is politician, known as politician in Egypt. He's at the group being sentenced in the early 90s. And myself is the activist. I wrote articles about human rights. I wrote many articles, some about the Vietnamese handle violation of the human rights. This one from the local and the other from some Symmetry News. And then I worked with Steve Denny, who passed away a few months ago, on this. And on the right, that lady Sema, the daughter of the writer Nhaka and the poet Trần Dạ Tư. She was not detained, but had a lot of trouble because their parents, what their parents did. And on the left, you see there, we bring up the case for Dương Thu Hương, Nguyễn Chi Thiện, and John Quốc Sĩ son here in at conference, and Dr. Nguyễn Đàn Quế, to get the attention from the American public and people in policy making. Steve Denny, as my good friend, I worked with him for many years on human rights. And then, later on, beginning when you have an internet going to Vietnam, these people were detained or arrested or trial because they used internet to disseminate information about human rights violation in Vietnam. Lê Chí Quang, we said Nguyễn Khắc Quang, and last time when you've been very, have a really well-known blog, a lot of people following up. He was arrested for 5 years. And then Lady Nguyen, Thanh Thủy, Dr. Lê Quốc Vân, I met Thanh Thủy here. Women I met his wife when she came to San Jose to appeal for help for her husband. We here is different because these people are Northerners. They are born or they really young when April 75 happened. Okay. But now they're raising their voice for human rights in Vietnam. For the community, always we support their fight for freedom. Local newspaper, I wrote many of them in Vietnamese too. Father Nguyen Lee right there was bought the trial. We publicized the case. We pay for the billboard. We pay for the Washington Post appeal right there. How we make the case of the human rights in Vietnam known to the people. Or we demonstrate in front of the Vietnam Consulate General in San Francisco with the name of the people being in prison right there. We can't, that's why women died. And to the left, that's the Congresswoman Joe Laughlin, strong supporter for human rights in Vietnam. And here, when they came out, Wikipedia came out in 1995. He was welcomed by Zinetta Sagan, one of the big names in Amnesty International. Down there, myself and them, Wikipedia, and then Steve Denny have been taught in Berkeley and his translator. Here, now using the social media like Facebook, and Mr. Thái Bá Tân, a well-known poet, he went to school in Moscow. He's been writing a lot of poems criticizing government. A few weeks ago, the police appealed him, say that you cannot post it anymore on Facebook. And he said, yeah, I agree, because he doesn't want to make trouble for his children and his family. Here's the line from one of the poems, right? He said that, everything is because our country is so backward or so much of a trouble because of the communism. Now, up to now, according to the 2023 State Department report, there are still some 187 prisoners in Vietnam. Freedom House, Red Vietnam, only 4 to 40 for social, political, and 15 or 16 for civil liberties. These are, we appeal, and then the Tom Bantus, human rights commission at the Congress. These are people adopted by member of Congress, and some of them get released, and then prison like Viet, Nanjan, Ipumbia, Egypt, and they do but yeah. And we have a support from like Loretta Sanchez, all the local congressmen in the area with a lot of Vietnamese. Yeah. And they came to America like Thien under that, and we have won the right. Yeah, I met them. They got honored by the Vietnam Human Rights Network and published in Vietnam. Now, under that, he's my friend, Listen Law. Now they use the 331 to put people in jail because they violate the freedom of democracy in Vietnam too. So, Listen Law and read it, and here we appeal from international community trying to help them to release. Here, that's Mr. Thai Button who wrote the form, and the other one was just sentenced for using the Facebook, sent 8 years in prison. Here is back to 1979. I was right there, the right hand, 50 guy with long hair like that, and the bell problem hand like that. And then Thien just released in San Francisco. San Jose, he came to San Francisco like 2 months ago. And she has some of the book about the education camp in Vietnam. So that published by UC Berkeley, and then we will back the Mr. Nguyen was here from Yaka Hoki. He want to read about how they treat the artists from 75 to 79. That's the one on the left, and the right is about from 79 to 2005, something like that. And here, some other book by people want to have the pluralism society in Vietnam. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bui. As Mr. Bui expressed in the echoes of regression, 50-year struggle for human rights in Vietnam, his boy laid the foundation for what would have become Phong Trao Vietnam, known as today Voice of Freedom for Vietnam. It is my honor to introduce the man who carried the mission forward with unwavering dedication, Mr. Nguyen. He is an educator, a prolific composer, and a relentless advocate for human rights. Currently, he's the president of the Voice of Freedom for Vietnam. He has spent years exploring how art, music, preserve the Vietnamese identity and to fuel the fight for justice and democracy in Vietnam. Please welcome him, Mr. Nguyen.
I know that it's a long day for you. The last session, you're tired, sleepy sometimes. So we try to, you see that we set up some musical instrument, ready to have some piece of music that lift up your spirit. Okay? As the voice just present after the fall of Saigon in 1975, our people scattered across the world. Families were torn apart, and 500,000 of people died at sea. I see some of the young people sitting here, coming from Vietnam. They may not know both people, but it is the dictionary, both people. The Vietnamese left the country after 1975. And yet, from that painful experience, something extraordinary was born. A movement that refused to let go of its roots, its culture, and its voice. That movement names Phong Trao Vietnam, later known now as Voice of Freedom for Vietnam. Huynh means promote, lift up the spirit. Ca means music, songs. We are artistic, create songs and music up the spirit to promote freedom, to promote democracy in Vietnam. You know, during the war and after the war, the communist government sent a lot of people out here for their propaganda, and they were successful. And yesterday you saw Lily Hastings is one of them. So what should we do? We do something, you know, against them. They pro-communist, we pro-freedom. That's why we was born from Trao Vietnam. Wherever Vietnamese refugees found a new home, Huynh was there. We carry songs of resilience and hope, and it keep our community connected to our homeland, reminding us of the regimes. No regime can, you know, erase our identity. And then in 1985, the Huynh was formed in Houston, Texas. And our mission is very simple, but profound. We use literature, music, and media as an instrument to fight for freedom, democracy, and human rights in Vietnam. Over the years, we have organized hundreds of concerts. We composed countless songs, and we published numerous articles and broadcasts to shed the light on the suffering of our people. Our projects, aligned with political upheavals in Vietnam, we have sung for the boat people who risked everything for freedom. We have given voice to those who endure the horror in the so-called re-education camps. We have stood in solidarity with the land petitioners who have lost their homeland, their land to the communist corruption. And we have spoken out against the China incursion to our seas and territory. And you see that we have our own media. Those articles belong to members of Voice of Freedom for Vietnam. We have our own broadcast station to publish our product. We also work tirelessly to correct the false narrative written by those in power, especially the distortion of the history and to that vilify the South's courageous fight against invaders from the north. And of course, the time today don't allow us to share with you everything we have created over the years, but let me introduce a few pieces that capture the heart of our mission. And are you ready for the top performers? And okay, ready?
Yes.
Okay, one of the song named "Dream of a Return" by a very famous composer, Nguyen. I know most of you over here knows who Nguyen is, right? This song is the voice of millions of Vietnamese exiles who dream of the homeland free from division and hatred, a homeland where freedom and human rights are not distant dreams, but everyday realities. And you know, Nguyen poured into this song of love for Vietnam, a longing for liberty, and because of that, it's become popular in Vietnamese diaspora. It is an anthem for human rights and religious freedom. And this is the dream of the return by Nguyen.
Those of you who know the song, I'd like for you to sing along with us. And those of you who don't know the lyrics, you can clap along with us.
So I hope that you will enjoy the song. And
wish to start again. The birds will sing for democracy, the bell will ring for liberty, the sun will shine for human rights, stars in the sky will rise up just now. Singing a song for happy ending, no more minutes when the day is beginning. Children will dance on a peaceful land, the land of the free, the land of the brave. Singing a song for everybody, having a chance to live again. Singing a song for you and me, having a chance to love again. Everyone will love it right now. There's no yêu không ngọt không thù, trên con đường mòn sâu cân với chiều, anh ôm đàn sưởi đi dưới nắng. Và những tiếng nghe dần đi thầm, và những trong sao trời gần gần, anh ôm cây đàn, em buông cơn lòng, em ra bài một quê hương anh người. Rồi mình tới anh đưa em về làng, này mà có ngóng trông em chào mừng. Hôn quê tưng bừng, hôn chim reo hò, hát mừng người về sống chiến tranh. Rồi hoa bốc xuống cơn em dịu nồng, họ hàng trong xóm thanh nhân nhau ngược hồng, sương răng miệt mùng, đêm sâu chập trùng, xóa một đường xuyên không bao nhau. I always dream of a return day, coming back home from so far away. The home of the free, home of the brave. We used to start all over again. The birds will sing for democracy, the bell will ring for liberty, the sun will shine for human rights, stars in the sky will rise up the sky. Sing a song for happy ending, no more minutes when the day begins. Children will dance for peaceful land, the land of the free, the land of the brave. Sing a song for everybody, having a chance to live again. Sing a song for you and me, having a chance to love again. Everyone will love it right now. Hãy với em không còn bạn đâu, trên quê nước nghèo, trong khu rừng già, những mái nhà mãi ấm mơ. Em nói thiên là một chuyện nhỏ, hai nước không bên yêu nhau, con nước phát triển để ai đánh phần, để em đời là Việt Nam yêu, để em đời là Việt Nam yêu, để em đời là Việt Nam muốn ra.
Stay there, please. Next one. Next. One more. Okay.
Hold on.
The speaker remains really disturbing everyone else here. It's really pretty loud. Remove the speaker over here.
Yeah, go ahead. It's wireless.
Great.
It's wireless.
Thank you. Sounds great, guys.
Thank
Sounds a
you.
little too
Well,
great
the
for
fact
people
that
like
you,
Seoul.
the fact that you're still here with us, that is so amazing. Thank you.
Okay, another defining moment in our struggle happened in 2007 when Father Nguyen were physically silenced in the courtroom in Huynh. You see the picture right there. I will have big one later. And in 2012, 21, when blogger Pham Dong Chang was sentenced to 8 years in prison simply because he speaks the truth. And these images of defiance and injustice shook the conscience of freedom-loving people around the world. And it was in that same spirit I wrote Echoes from the Dark Prison. This song is a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest prison, the voice of justice will never, never be silenced. And please enjoy the song, Echo from the Dark Prison.
Don't rescue me, rescue my country. It's been so long with no freedom. Human rights is worlds away, while tyranny controls all. Don't rescue me, rescue my country. If I must die, then let it be. My life's for the people, standing ready, I sacrifice. Liberty, oh liberty, no granted, no granted. Liberty is a human right. We fight through endless nights for the sacred life. Imprison me, 10 years, 20 years, just like summer's breeze. My harsh sentence will engrave in history. I condemn communist crimes as high as mountains. Ocean tides cannot wash away. Imprison me. Peace in the world can live with me. Dressed as man, ruling my country forever, while nature remains untamed. Hãy cứu dân tôi, xin đừng cứu tôi. Việt Nam tan tác mấy mươi năm rồi. Tự do sao quá xa vời, bao giờ được mở miệng nói. Hãy cứu dân tôi, xin đừng cứu tôi. Dù tôi có chết cũng chỉ một đời. Đời tôi dâng hiến cho người Việt Nam. Tự do ơi tự do đâu cần xin cho. Tự do là quyền con người, tự do là hơi thở, là bầu trời, là quyền thiêng liêng. Qua tù tôi đi, miền Đông không ngồi xanh của danh hoa. Bỏ tù tôi đi, bỏ tù tôi đi, bầy thú hoang đang đi hạ người, bầy thú hoang đang đội lốt người. Miền Nam loài thú hoang vẫn là thú hoang. Miền Nam loài thú hoang vẫn là thú hoang.
Thank you. Take the next slide.
You got the remote.
Oh, sorry. And you see, through music, poetry, and art, the voice of freedom for Vietnam has left its mark, not only in the cultural life of the diaspora, but in the heart of the new generation. We have not only preserved our identity, but we have also kept the flame of resistance alive. We have empowered young people carry this struggle forward. The war is ended, but the fight is still going on. We don't fight using a weapon, but our weapon is music, our pen, writing, broadcasting. Everything belongs to culture and artistics. And so, we look ahead. Our mission remains clear. We call upon all of you, whether you are an artist, an activist, or simply those who believe in justice, to join us, to stand with us, to continue using culture and resistance and art as a weapon for freedom. And because the Voice of Freedom for Vietnam is not just an organization, it is a movement that was born from the hope and the sacrifice of generations. And this movement, through music and art, are more than expression. They are forces of change. Through every song, every poem, and every art, we keep hope alive. We ensure that the voice of the oppressed reaches beyond the prison walls, straight into the heart of those who will believe in freedom. So today, I leave you with this. If you're an artist, create. If you're an advocate, speak up. If you're an activist, take the lead. If you're someone who believes in human dignity and liberty, stand with us. Because together, we can and we will fight for Vietnam, where human rights are no longer a dream, but it is a living reality. Thank you very much.
Well, last but not least, I'd like to introduce our last panelist, Mr. Thien Huynh. Over there. Mr. Huynh is a prominent journalist and lifelong community and human rights activist. Mr. Huynh left Vietnam in 1970 to obtain his abroad college education in Japan. He has dedicated all his life in the quest for freedom, human rights, and democracy for Vietnam. And I will be joining him for our last presentation. From day one, the Voice of Freedom for Vietnam launched Bringing the Flame Back Home campaign, using music and media as powerful tools to spread the message of freedom and human rights to the Vietnamese people. Music ignites the spirit, while media amplifies the message, reaching the community worldwide, including those inside Vietnam. Songs like Dreams of a Return and many others have gained popularity in the democratic movement, encouraging peaceful protest. They inspire, they unite, and help raise political awareness while keeping the hope for freedom alive. When Viet, one of our founders, passed away, thousands of land petitioners in Vietnam sang his song in tribute in the US. The California State Legislature honored him by naming a freeway after him. As you can see, the freeway Viet, Human Rights Memorial Freeway, Highway. Building on that momentum, we launched the Singing for Freedom campaign to expose the persecution of dissidents in Vietnam. We collaborated with Vietnam Human Rights Network to establish the Human Rights Award, honoring individuals who have fought for justice through non-violent means, include Father Nguyen Văn Lý, the most venerable Thích Quảng Đồ, lawyer Nguyễn Văn Đài, singer Viet Khang, and blogger Phạm Đoàn Tran. Through relentless advocacy and international pressure, some prisoners of conscience, such as Pastor Nguyễn Công Chính, lawyer Nguyễn Văn Đài, and songwriter Viet Khang were released and granted asylum abroad. Meanwhile, Vietnam Human Rights Records has remained a focal point in diplomatic dialogues with the US, Canada, and the EU. Now, I'd like to introduce Mr. Thien, who will talk about Father Lý.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for being here with us until now in the last section, and for my convenience. Please let me speak Vietnamese today. Kính thưa quý vị, chúng tôi là Hưng Ca, rất hân hạnh lần đầu tiên được tham dự cái sinh hoạt ngày hôm nay. Thì đây là cái section cuối cùng. Chúng tôi rất lo lắng mà không có bao nhiêu người tham dự, nhưng mà được quý đồng hơn tham dự đông đảo, chúng tôi rất là vui và xin quý vị là tiếp tục để cùng với Hưng Ca cái section này. Và thưa quý vị, ngày 30 tháng 7 năm 2007, quý vị còn nhớ là tại một tòa án tại Huế thì linh mục Nguyễn Văn Lý đã bị điều ra trước vành móng ngựa. Và khi ngài vừa mở miệng nó cất tiếng nói thì đã bị một tên công an đứng đằng sau, đó là tên Nguyễn Minh Tân, đưa tay bịt miệng ngài lại. Đó là cái chuyện hết sức là lạ lùng. Và khi tấm hình này được đưa ra hải ngoại thì chúng tôi thấy rằng đây là một tấm hình rất là độc đáo và có một về mặt truyền thông thì rất là có thể nói là ăn khách, và chúng tôi đã gửi tới nhiều tòa báo tại Hoa Kỳ để mong họ phổ biến tấm hình độc đáo này, nhưng rất tiếc hầu như không có một tờ báo nào phổ biến. Vì thế cộng đồng chúng tôi phải tự kêu quỹ để mà trang trải cho việc thực hiện những cái billboard lớn như thế này, chiều cao 14 feet và chiều dài 28 feet, là thưa quý vị. Và cái billboard đầu tiên là tại San Francisco, kế tới là cái billboard đầu tiên là tại San Jose, kế tới là San Francisco, kế tới là Nam Cali, kế tới là Australia, Canada và các nơi. Ở Houston.
On March 30th, 2007, the historical photo of the choking voice of Father Nguyen Văn Lý was leaked overseas. Many major media outlets refused to cover the incident. Therefore, we fundraised ourselves and put up the billboard of the choking voice of Father Nguyen Văn Lý on freeway, calling for world attention. Following us, many other places also adopted the idea and also put up the billboard in other cities as well. Now, our mission extends beyond human rights. It is also about protecting the historical truth. When the Return Our Motherland campaign protests China violation of Vietnam sovereignty, publishing open letters in the Washington Post, USA Today, and the Washington Times against Hu Jintao visit in 2004 to the US. The We Vote for Freedom campaign also mobilized Vietnamese American voters to support candidates committed to democracy in Vietnam. In 2018, we launched the Viet Media Award to challenge the historical distortions in Ken Burns and Linh Novick's documentary, The Vietnam War, ensuring the voices of soldiers, people of the South to be heard and respected. Our fight hasn't been without backlash from the Vietnamese government. Many leaders of the Voice of Freedom for Vietnam have been condemned, with some sentenced to death in absentia. Those performing or distributing our music in Vietnam have been harassed, arrested, under false charges of propaganda against in the state. Our members abroad have been denied entry to Vietnam. Our website, YouTube channel, and publication have faced blocks.
Now you see the slide over there? The book names Người Việt Nam ở nước ngoài, Overseas Vietnamese, published by the true publisher, political publisher in Hanoi. They label Phong Trao Việt Nam was formed in 1985 with the names of our founder, Hà Thúc Sinh, Nguyễn Hữu Nghĩa, Nguyễn Ánh, Đào Trường Phúc. This organization do both literature, music, but also have activity against the Vietnamese government. So they label us as cultural commandos, artistic commandos.
Thank you. Again, other media outlet, internet, we were really a target. Despite being labeled in anti-state force by the Vietnamese government, we refuse to back down. A free press is the most powerful nonviolent weapon in the fight for justice. It exposes corruption and holds leaders accountable. It protects the voiceless, vulnerable, and the vulnerable. It fuels democratic change. We stand by our belief. When the truth spread, freedom is within reach. Now I'd like to ask Mr. Huynh talk about the VOA and RFA.
Thank you. Dạ thưa quý vị, như quý vị đã biết, ngày 15 tháng 3 vừa qua, đột nhiên chính phủ Hoa Kỳ đã cắt mọi tài trợ cho đài phát thanh VOA và AFM, tức là Á Châu Tự Do. Đây là một cú sốc rất lớn cho người dân Việt ở trong nước, đặc biệt là cho những người đấu tranh cho nhân quyền tự do tại Việt Nam. Như quý vị đã biết, nhà nước Việt Nam khống chế và chỉ đạo và cơ quan truyền thông trong nước và phổ biến tin tức theo lệnh của Đảng Cộng sản Việt Nam. Vì thế, người dân Việt Nam rất mong muốn được nghe tiếng nói của sự thật từ đài VOA và nhất là đài Á Châu Tự Do, là tiếng nói ủng hộ cho tự do và dân chủ nhân quyền tại Việt Nam. Vì thế, chúng tôi tha thiết kêu gọi quý vị ủng hộ cho chiến dịch kêu gọi chính phủ Hoa Kỳ hãy phục hồi hoạt động cho đài VOA và đài Á Châu Tự Do. Xin cảm ơn quý vị.
We are deeply concerned about the closure of the Vietnamese services of Voice of America, VOA, and the Radio Free Asia, RFA. It's a critical platform that provided uncensored news cutting through propaganda. Authoritarian regimes like Vietnam fear a free press. They build firewall, censor the internet, arrest people simply for accessing independent media. Shutting down VOA and RFA gives them exactly what they want: less truth, less accountability, and a way to silence dissidents more easily. This is not just a loss for Vietnam, it is a setback for global press freedom. We urge journalists, activists, lawmakers, to demand for these essential services to be reinstated. Silencing those voices empower oppressors, and we cannot let that stand. As press freedom and human rights in Vietnam remain under attack, your support is crucial. Spread out the persecuted journalists and activists. Share the information about human rights violation in Vietnam. Support peaceful advocacy campaigns. Together, we can build a Vietnam where human rights are respected and the press is free and every citizen has a voice. Thank you. Thanks to all the countries that offer asylum, Vietnam footsteps scatter all over the world. Now, I would like to bring to you a song called Footsteps of Vietnam. This is our last song. Hopefully not the last one. We're gonna have one more song to sing it with you. But everybody, let's sing the last song to the audience. And thank you so much.
I hope this song is waking you up.
And then we're gonna have the Q&A after this.
I remembered my country's griefs and lives gone astray. Winds wearied with disbelief, heaven was closed away. In times when all seemed lost, adrift on stormy seas, unheard cries of sacrifice, dreams shatters hopelessly. Through those many years, memories remain alive. Through those long lost times, to remember our lives. Under the endless skies, there's still no freedom. Searching for human rights, the journey never ends. 'Cause love in an open heart embraces us kindly, suppress our wounded souls, so now we have a home. Through those many years, looking back on memories, touched by human soul, with a love that lasts forever. Thanks, America, for your open arms. Grand merci la France, pour vos bras ouverts. Thanks, Australia, for your open arms. Merci, Canada, pour la liberté. The day when the land was new, it was such a strange sound, unknown in endless streets. Each step we feel the pain. Through time we learn to live and learn to fly again. Our friends of a different place, we share the same destiny. cơn tự sinh.
xưa cơn tự sinh.
Dù đời phồn hoa lấp lánh, lòng vẫn nhớ quê nhà. Mẹ hiền choàng chợ giấc mong, vì trời nửa đêm về xa. Đời dù buồn vui vẫn thế, đừng để thêm chia lìa. Lạc loài là một nỗi đau, thấy nhau hay thì còn nhau. Khắp nơi trên địa cầu rơi dấu bước chân Việt Nam, những đôi chân miệt mài đang tới dưới ánh vàng vàng. Lâu nay ta là thế, 50 năm ngày người, sống giữa ân và oán, một hát lên đôi lời. Grand merci la France, for those past over. Thanks Australia, for your open hearts. Thank you Canada, for your liberty. Thanks America, for your open arms. We thank the world for its true freedom. We thank the world. We thank the world. Thank you. We thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, thank you. Now we would like to have a Q&A session. Please feel free to, to walk to the microphone stand and ask your questions, and we hope to answer all the questions that you have.
Thank you for everything, okay, for the music. We enjoy it. My question to Mr. Huynh. So in your presentation, you mentioned some very well-known names, so that Chi-Hue and Educator. And I knew they're not ours. They're from communist country. They came here with some mission, doing something for the communist government in Vietnam, because they already exposed the idea, exposed the behavior, okay, toward the ideology we embrace, like we have and you guys. So I don't know if you guys, what do you guys think about those people? And what will you, okay, cope with that situation? And you will do something to correct or to help them to understand that our cause, and maybe someday, they will reverse. But at this time, I still don't believe they are our comrades. Thank you.
Okay, my answer for you will be that in the principle of Amnesty International, that is how I work. If the people being detained in Vietnam without trial, we will campaign for them to be put on trial. And then after on trial, if they are in prison for some of the peaceful activities, we appeal how we help them to get out of the prison, and then some of them be expelled from Vietnam. That's the government thing. When they came here, what they do, what they choose to do, whatever the thing they join the party or some group, that's their freedom. We just want that when we work for the Amnesty International, that they get out of the prison, and if they come to other country, go Germany, France, or USA, and they have their own voice, own choice, whatever they want to do. We don't intervene after that.
All right, thank you.
So I really appreciate the comment about the cuts to funding to Voice of America and Radio Free Asia, and how important that media is to people in Vietnam. And I wonder if you could comment more broadly on the other things that are taking place in the United States. As a refugee myself, I am deeply concerned to see the United States be much less welcoming to refugees than it was to people like us. I'm very concerned about attacks on our free media in the United States, because we need to have a free media in the United States if we're ever hoping to have free media in other countries that do not currently have one. And I would like to hear you say whether or not you think the current administration in the United States, the second Trump administration, is for democracy here in the United States and in Vietnam and around the world or not, given your long history of activism for refugees, human rights, and democracy.
Okay, myself is the contributor for VOA, BBC, and I work with the refugees for some years back in Indonesia and Hong Kong. Of course, I do not support the policy of the current U.S. government under President Trump. We should be aware of that. But for the people of USA, we in general, we are the citizenship of this country, elected him, and we have to accept whatever not accept it, whatever he's doing. We don't agree, then we protest. That's my opinion.
As you know, that we have the right to vote. Okay, with the closure of VOA or IFA, we disagree with the current administration. We may agree with some other things, but with the closure of those two broadcasting, the Defiance is very helpful to the Vietnamese people in Vietnam. We will sign a petition to the current administration, and we are doing that right now, to ask them to stop doing that. And if not, you have the right to vote. You may not vote for those who close it. You vote for those who open it back in the next 4 years. That's what the difference from here and Vietnam, and we fight for that. Thank you.
Yes, we are taking all kind of actions, starting with the petitions, and also we work with the local official to rally or hopefully to lobby up to the top. But starting somewhere, we are creating change. I'd like to take the next question.
Wait. Okay.
First, I'd like to speak this in Vietnamese to express all of my feeling about cảm ơn tất cả các anh chị. Những giây phút vừa qua tôi tin tưởng một các anh chị. Tôi tin là chạm tới trái tim tất cả những người tham dự ở đây và cùng đến với đồng bào community, Vietnamese community in the US. My question is related to the previous question. However, it is in bigger scope. The question is, due to the interest of the U.S. and normalization between the U.S. and the Vietnamese Communist government, I don't think the human rights or democracy or freedom, the values that we have been based on, and lean on the US as the model for those struggle. Now, still maybe very not clear. So the question here, and the question here is not only for Phong, Trao, Huynh, but the question here is for all the efforts of the overseas Vietnamese American community is how, I think it's about time that we have to rethink the strategy, the way that we make the issue known and be effectively help our people in Vietnam. I don't think we can, it's hard for us now to campaign to the US administration based on the value of freedom, the freedom of democracy, the value of human rights, that the US has been the leader in those values in the past. Thank you.
That's $1 million question. What we've been done for the last 40, 50 years, we keep doing that. Never lose hope. But now the situation changed, like you just said. And you know what's the most important right now? Money. If you have money, you lobby all the legislature, you win. And that happened to the Israel community. They have a lot of people represented in the Congress. They have a lot of money. So the question now is, how do we get money to lobby them? That's a $1 million question. And I don't have the answer right now. And maybe some of us in this panel, maybe Dr. Martin Tripp, if you have any solution for this question?
The solution is very briefly. Under the President Trump, we say, MAGA, make American great again. But for the overseas Vietnamese, we must say MVRA, make Vietnam revise again.
I'd like to add to all the comments that you want to share. I like what you said. It's time for us to re-strategize, right? What's happening in our community. I think it takes each individual. That's why us over here, 50 years, we never lose hope. We keep doing it. We keep doing it. I think there is a will, there is a way, but we just have to start somewhere. Start somewhere. The spark has to start somewhere. I always have hope. Just like today, we thought that we'll have nobody. Look, with the turnout, all of you are here. So I think it's a positive outlook. I've always had that.
So, in that spirit, we all will be.
Thank you so much. That keep us going. Thank you. Next, I'd like to take the next.
Thank you for your performance. It's wonderful today. And continue to her question about VOA, the cutting of the budget of VOA or FI. Here in America, we have freedom of speech and freedom of expression because the voice, VOA and RFI, they are one-sided. So how can you keep supporting one-sided media like that and broadcasting around the world like that? How can you do that, right? And here we have to have bipartisan, left and right. You have to say left and right. But here whenever I go to VOA, they always say only in one side, and then they say in the other side about Trump administration, they're always against and make some very fake liberals, and then they insult and arouse the people to stand up. That is not we have freedom, but you cannot create incite something to for example, like now it happened here in America about Tesla. So I think we respect everyone opinion, but we have to be bipartisan.
Thank you so much for the comment. I totally agree with that. Let me add to her comment. I don't recall when was the last time I really trusted the media, whatever I see. I think it's not so much of the fight of human rights, justice, but indeed we are facing the fight with the media. Left, right, left, we are living in such a big confusion where each of us have to do homework ourselves, right? Bipartisan, like you said. So it is something that each one of us has to do homework, determine which one's left, which one's right. But like I said, at the end of the day, we all have to do some research and put our heart and soul to it. You have anything to add?
If you disagree with something like VOA, don't close it. Change it.
Yes.
You can change the person even there. You change the director of that, broadcasting services. And we keep continuing doing what we're supposed to. Why are you going to close it? Right? In terms of the IRA Radio Free Asia, I don't see any one-sided, like what you said. IRA focus to Vietnam, human rights, freedom, and democracy. IRA don't mention any politics in America. Republican, Democratic, it's not the mission of IRA. They are focusing on Vietnam, China, Korea, closing those, the IRA, just like you give them free lunch. They set up the firewall to prevent IRA broadcast in Vietnam. Now, they don't have to do that no more. They celebrate. They drink champagne. Hey, they close it. Thank you.
I would like to invite Dr. Michael Trip to add your comment to this because this is a very sensational, very controversial issue in our community.
When I see you getting live, so my speech must be very clear. Okay. My duty is today, for today is to share with you to present the US today. This published on September 9, 2004 in Vietnamese and both in English, in which they share the open letter to the 9/11 event. Phong trào Huynh ca we urge to continue supporting our struggle for freedom, democracy, and human rights for the Vietnamese people. The Vietnamese people, American community, will never forget your noble causes. And in which we will just require to publish a letter of protest on Sino-Vietnamese border treaty. The letter of protestation called again the Treaty of Sino-Vietnamese in French. Bản lên tiếng in Vietnam and in China. So this was on September 9, 2004, just 3 years after the 9/11 attack. Thank you.
You know how much does it cost for that? $100,000 for that.
For one letter.
One letter.
Just
For
for
using
one
it.
letter.
Yes, I'd like to take the next comment. Yes.
Of course, we have no problem with you guys at all, okay? And I don't want to bring up the American politic here, because it may, make a divide among our community and even in the family, okay? People divided because of American politics. But when you blame the current administration for closing VOA and IFI, I disagree with that. If you follow, whatever they have done within like 3 months, you will see they discover a lot of misuse our money, our pay tax, and they misuse trillions of dollars for the nonsense activity overseas. The money should be here, treat American first, American veterans, American homeless people. Why they send money to feed, some other country we don't have any relation, okay, like to Afghanistan, to Iran, to support something very weird, support LGBT, support, buy condom for those people. That's why I support the work that President Trump is doing now. But in regard to VOA or I think he may think again, because in VOA and IFI, we know that they already misuse us, our money. So that he had to clean up the mess. Just wait, okay? When he opens the door, he will open. When he closes the door, he will sometimes open the other door for you. Okay, don't worry about it, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Phong, for your comment. At least it's nice to know that, it's encouraging to know that you also think like us. We hope that he will rethink about the closure. I'd like to invite, yes, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. That's why we do the petition right now. We do the petition to ask the current administration
Rethink
not
it.
to close
Okay.
VOA and IFI.
Okay. But don't blame him too much, okay? And don't tell him that he accuse him of fascism. When you remember Saul Alinsky and the Communist Party of America, which taught their people, when you deal with those people, you name them fascism and Nazi.
Yeah, thank you for your comment.
They are doing right now at this time.
All right, thank you for your comment. Yes, Dr. Stephen Yang.
Yeah, if I may say so.
Yeah.
We Americans have an old saying about this point. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Yeah.
Thank you. But on the VOA point, the timing was very bad, and I'm very disappointed because in the last several months, a number of people under pen names have been publishing on VOA and RFA ideas to respond to Dolam's suggestion that there could be a Nguyen, a new era in Vietnam. What would that be like? So there's a very easy channel, right? They write, goes up on VOA, lots of people can see the ideas inside the country. They can talk to each other. They can see is this good, is this bad? And some of these things, they sent it to me first so I could write some ideas. I was very honored. But I have a difficult question for the Phong Trao Hung Ka.
Yes.
And then I have a suggestion.
Yes.
My difficult question is, and you don't have to answer, okay?
We'll try.
If Dolam opens something up in a new way, would you be willing to cooperate? Go back, but maybe that's too much too soon. But would you be willing, because your music is wonderful. I think you can move Vietnamese. The question is which direction? You use your talents. How are you going to move them? Up or down, right?
Yeah.
But if there is some changes, would you respond with cooperation? You don't have to answer because it's a very difficult question for many Vietnamese. My my suggestion is on this. I was sitting there listening to you and thinking of a lot of other songs. It could be that the Vietnamese people, all the Vietnamese people, need a new song. One song that everybody can sing. The music you have is just excellent music. Can you find the words which could bring the Vietnamese people together? Something, my thinking is, and I'm not Vietnamese, so something which would bring about the spirit, Chi-Hue, some Nguyen, the spirit of mountains and rivers, the ballad of Lê Lai, I don't know, the ballad of Nguyen, something like that, which all Vietnamese would feel you're talking about me, and you're talking about my people. Now, if you could do that, you would be like Huynh too high.
First of all, thank you so much for liking the song that we sang today. Mr. Stevia, I'd like to answer your question. Indeed, today we're so limited in time, so we only have 3 songs just to, to share with you. But in our archive, we have thousands of songs, not just about freedom, right, and all these, but it's about patriotism, about historical, Đã Ta Sông Núi, all the songs creating the love of the Vietnamese for our homelands. Yes, we do have those songs. Hopefully, one of the events, you will get a chance to hear us singing those songs, okay? But thank you, that is a great point. Next
We have time for
please.
one more question.
Yes, one more question, please.
I don't really have a question. I'm here to offer the comment and respond to, I think, the question about what are we to do. So, first of all, my name is Cao Thái Hải. I am an American politician. I've been active in American politics for the last 10 years. And the reason I changed and focused into American politics is because I've been with Vietnamese politics for the last 50 years. I'm with Dr. Moderator, saying that we got nowhere. Because, for example, when I come on, speak about, look at the Israel people. Why? Why they are successful? Because every single one of them involved either active, semi-active in politics. And in both parties, Democrat, Republican. So it doesn't matter who is in charge. They have the power to lobby every single one, particularly the Senate and the Congress. Petition change doesn't have that effective, but imagine all of you guys, young generation, second generation, call up your representative and senator and lobby them and say, if you don't do what we want, you don't get our vote next time. That's my offer.
Thank you. Indeed, thank you so much. Indeed, that's what we have been doing and we will continue to do. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So let's wrap up this. The panel have shared with you all the human rights violations at all levels for the past 50 years from the communist regime, and also how our organizations, the Voice of Freedom for Vietnam, use media and music as a platform to advocate for freedom and democracy in Vietnam. I'd like to thank you, all the panelists here, all the speakers, for sharing with the audience your personal experience, your knowledge about the topic, and most importantly, I'd like to thank you all for sitting through the hours with us and have this dialogue, discussion. It's so profound for us. Again, thank you so much, each and every one of you. Thank you.